Yeah, in case we want fish eye. Thank you. So refreshing.
That's it.
Which
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joyce, your MC for this morning. Thank you for being here with us for the ICPAS Budget 2013 update and its tax implications seminar brought to you by ICPAS. We are very pleased to have Minister Teo Salak, Minister of State for Trade and Industry and ICPAS advisor, who has taken time out of his busy schedule to attend this seminar as our guest of honor. We are also delighted to have with us Dr. Ernest Khan, ICPAS President. In addition, we have 5 experts here today to shed light on the impact of the budget. They are Mr. Chew Oo Hong, Partner Tax KPMG Singapore, Ms. Chew Mok Lee, Assistant Chief Executive, Entrepreneurship and Innovation Spring Singapore, Mr. Victor Tay Ka Soon, Chief Operating Officer, Singapore Business Federation, Mr. Song Seng Woon, Executive Director and Regional Economist, CIMB Research Private Limited, and Professor Sam Ee Loong, Professor of Accounting Practice, Singapore Management University. Before we begin, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Ernest Khan, ICPAS President, to give his opening address. Dr. Khan, please.
Mr. Teo Salak, Minister of State for Trade and Industry, and ICPAS advisor, distinguished speakers, panelists, fellow members, a very good morning to you all. Thank you for attending the ICPAS Budget 2013 update and its tax implications seminar. I would particularly like to thank our guest of honor, Minister Teo Salak, for gracing this event again this year, despite his very busy schedule. I understand that this morning we have about 650 participants at this seminar. This is in fact an unprecedented turnout for our budget seminar, which we hold annually. Today's seminar on Budget 2013 is one of ICPAS' efforts to add value to our members by equipping them with knowledge, to add value to our members, and to relate the budget policies to their life and work. It is encouraging to see so many of you here this morning. Today we are pleased to have once again Professor Sam Ee Loong from SMU, who will be taking us through the policies of Budget 2013, and of course a panel of distinguished speakers who will be exchanging their views on the topic. As we have seen, Budget 2013 focuses on the need for continued sustainable growth, but not without considering the social aspect of building an inclusive and cohesive society. To that end, new initiatives were rolled out, including an enhanced government productivity scheme and the new wage credit scheme. As reported in the Straits Times, Budget 2013 is one of the most generous budgets in recent years, balanced finally between helping firms raise their game and ensuring that individuals get the help they need. Of course, there have been various reports in the press, Business Times, Today, New Paper, etc., in Zaobao. According to another Straits Times report, analysts and businesses said the Budget 2013 was generous even as it showed the government's commitment to raising productivity. They also noted a clear shift towards giving even more help to the lower income while taxing the rich, like many of you here. Today's newspaper called it a budget for quality growth, And some commentators have used the words inclusive and ambitious to describe Budget 2013. I believe there's much room for thought-provoking dialogue and exchange of views, and our panelists will have a very interesting discussion later. But before that, Minister Teo will be sharing more about Budget 2013 in his keynote address. It is an honor and privilege to hear from Minister of State for Trade and Industry on this pertinent topic, and I believe we are all looking forward to hear his views. So before I end off, I would like to wish everyone a fruitful and enjoyable session ahead. Thank you very much.
Now, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Mr. Teo Salak, Minister of State for Trade and Industry and ICPAS advisor, to give his keynote address. Mr. Teo, please.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Dr. Ernest Khan, President of the ICPAS, ladies and gentlemen, panel members and all, good morning to all of you. Now, this is the budget period, and it's been reviewed, and we're having this debate on the budget. Maybe first off is budget, as most of you would know. The PM Tharman would actually usually talk about budget, not in detail, because the details will come out probably today or tomorrow, where there's a committee of supply. Committee of supply meaning that every ministry comes out to actually go into the detail of the measures that we rolled out, and that includes MOF, that includes MTI, and all the other ministries. Today ends probably all the speeches by the member of parliament on debating the budget, so they make those speeches. Then after that, they file what we call questions on the budget, or we call within the parliament house the cuts, meaning that they file questions like why are we spending money on this and that, and they propose a cut to the budget. So then there's a debate again. Then you'll see more details that will be rolled out. For some of the measures, the details will be rolled out from, I believe, today until probably end of next week. By Friday, every ministry will come out and talk about some of the details. So do pay close attention. I'm sure all of you professionals here for taxation and relevant industries, pay close attention to some of the measures that will be rolled out. For MOF, it will be next week. For MTI, it will be coming Monday. So I think the papers and all, or even the broadcast, will actually share some of that. Well, I'm glad to see so many of you here. Last year I did grace this event, and this year I see also more interest. In fact, there's a lot more coverage and interest this year, especially for the business side of things. When I entered MTI, my role was to oversee the SMEs, meaning that any measures and all to help the SMEs tie over the economic situation of the day, probably last year, this year, and what they will be facing in future. I've never had so much interest in SME until this budget and this year, which also means that everybody felt that there were some challenges ahead for the SME, or even current challenges at the status quo, that the SME is finding it difficult to do certain things, and the government has set certain objectives and mission to transform the economy. I've mentioned last year before that we're facing this situation where we need to transition, and the transition has become transformation this year. We need to transform the economy. We need to build our business sector, more so than ever. My trips to overseas, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's Vietnam, emerging countries and economy, and the other countries, even in China, you can tell that every single one were trying to transform their economy through the local business sector. In China, they call it 经济转型, and it's especially prevalent, and with such a big and massive country, they were singing the same song, right from the top of the leadership level to the bottom. And the businesses were all in tune and say they have to do certain things. To me, that's quite amazing, but it also shows a single mission that they're trying to achieve to actually grow their economy and make it more resilient. That means that there are more challenges for us. We're a small country, limited in resources. We really need to come together as one to actually be able to move forward in that way. So this budget, well, some MPs and even Ernest mentioned that it's a generous budget, it's inclusive. I like to look at it as this budget is a very balanced budget. It has something for the business, there's something for the individual, the family. It's balanced in a way where we're not just giving, but we also need the individual, the family, and more importantly, the business to proactively tap on the schemes and the programs, to proactively review and see where they are right now in the whole business cycle, to be able to fully utilize what we are rolling out in this budget. For the social sector, for example, it's kind of huge investments, about $3 billion just on the preschool sector or in education. And of course, there are other investments, there are other amount of budget that we put in for workfare and work income supplement. And these are important because versus a minimum wage system, right, which I think many of the MPs, I think the day before, has actually been pushing it. Singapore has its own unique way to top up the salary of our workers. And in that unique way, there is also a macro objective of why sometimes minimum wage is a concern. Because we are constantly monitoring, it's not that it's close to the subject, but we're constantly monitoring how other countries who have implemented minimum wage to be able to make adjustments in their country and the challenges they faced. And then we look at Singapore's context and say, what are we most suitable of? As you all know, Unique Singapore has a very unique way of handling certain things and in the governance as well. So currently, with the minimum wage issue and policies, we work it out through the work income supplement scheme and to top it up. And along with wage credit is to encourage companies to relook at the business model and say, is it possible to level up the salaries of our local staff or level up the salaries of their employees to a certain level where the employees will feel that it's well worth to be staying in the company and they can also be able to meet up to the cost of living that they're facing. The tax system itself is very progressive this year. As you can see, the signal we're sending out is very progressive. I'm not sure why some people call it Robin Hood. We're not really trying to rob from the rich and give to the poor. And right, Ernest, so don't worry, Ernest. It's not really that. It's just to, I would say that's part of inclusiveness. You want everybody to contribute their part where they could afford, where they could do it, to be able to help those who are less well off. Think of it this way, rather than to say government is in the middle trying to do something against the rich and then for the poor all the time. That's not that, huh? So the progressive taxation really is very clear now. Everybody can see whether it's for the car and all. Oh, by the way, the car loan that everybody is talking about and viral all the time, that's not part of the budget. Yeah, so that caught really us off guard a bit, flip off the chair. But nevertheless, I think this is a budget where everybody can feel that we're trying to make certain changes, we're trying to help to make those changes, and we're trying to help the business sector to do that. And it's a budget to restructure, and it's also to me is the beginning, because restructuring effort or even productivity movement that we have all been talking about and coming up with so many schemes. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to be just the start. Yeah, even procreation and all that, you can roll out whatever measures. I was just talking to Dinah that it's very personal. This kind of measures and schemes we roll out is still up to the individual. We can only do so much. It needs the individual to come forward. So it's a balanced budget, rolling out, creating the ecosystem and the environment, but it needs an individual out there, the business out there, to tap on it. Well, we want to achieve quality growth and all that. So for the SMEs, we're rolling out different schemes. And these different schemes touch on the various areas. The areas of revenue portion for the company, the areas of the cost portion for the company, the human resource of the company, and also the bottom line. The revenue portion, for example, in the SMEs that we'll roll out for the schemes would include various areas where we help the companies to broaden out their scope and their scope of revenue generation, finding alternative source or finding new source of revenue or projects, and it means internationalization. Helping them to get out there, to be able to see, to be able to tell, to be able to feel, to be able to discover opportunities in new markets, and in markets that we'll find that there will be opportunities And it's not just going to be about organizing trade missions and all that. It's not. There will be schemes where the companies can tap on them and to be able to help themselves, but helping themselves through a scheme or a program by the government. And that's something that we'll roll out probably later. The wage credit scheme, as everybody is talking about, actually, my view is this. Wage credit scheme is about, just for some of you who may not know, is to, if you increase the salary of a staff, government co-pays 40% of it, you pay 60%. Many of the SME owners have spoken to me and said that, this wage credit scheme, and it just gives them additional pressure by the workers to increase their salary, and that's undue pressure, I look at it this way, right? It is a scheme to give you flexibility to decide what you want to do with it, whether you want to increase or not. Pressure or not, the employee is under your payroll. You have to decide whether the employee is worth it, and whether there are indicators to actually determine that this employee is worth the increase, and government help co-funds that. And what is the indicator? It's not necessarily just productivity, meaning that maybe some people say, hey, productivity is just higher output, less people. For me, if I were running a company right now, that could be one of it. Depends on where the person's role is. But it could also mean the person value adds to the company through revenue generation, finding new customer, new billings, new volume of orders, or just be able to be innovative and coming out with certain area where it can help the company either save money, increase revenue, or enhancing a product. Many different ways. It doesn't just tie into a productivity movement of the source of higher output. It doesn't mean that. Because of that, the different schemes must come together with wage credit to make it effective. So wage credit alone, having companies to tap on wage credit alone, it's just, to me, it's just not complete as a package. You have to tap on the different schemes to come together and pack it together, and then that's a whole package that will help the company. So companies need to identify that they have to proactively review their own system, review their own business model to know what is needed. And that also means for some of our professional services firm, additional business and revenue opportunity in the advisory role for the SMEs, right? So some companies actually set up consultancy just to help SMEs to identify those opportunities to tap on the schemes and put it together. I think wage credit is best used in complementary efforts with the other schemes. So for SMEs to really review their own business model and make those changes and tap on those schemes, things like that takes time. It takes time. So some of the companies and owners are asked, 3 years is what you give to us, right? 2015, and then wage credit is gone. Well, the productivity scheme will still be there. Wage credit, will it be there or not? It really depends on the situation of the day, but at least for now, 3 years is where you can figure things out. And figuring things out would mean that in different parts of your business. So some SMEs say, I'm in a flower arrangement business, and how do I automate? But, robot cannot arrange a flower and rose down here, then the leaves down there. But the important thing is not to just think about automation or computerization. It can also be process redesign. Re-engineering the process doesn't necessarily mean technology. It could mean different things. It could mean even the most manual but simplest way of doing things. And it could mean innovation. Innovation, a lot of people start thinking innovation means new state-of-the-art development of technology, software application. Not necessarily so. And even in innovation, we would like to help SMEs in that area. And that's why one of the schemes that we roll out would be helping to match the large companies, whether it's MNC or local large companies, with SMEs together and co-innovate, co-develop solutions, working together. And it can be matching them and they're working with, say, A-Star or research agencies and all that. If they pick up the project, you can work together. And that part, we have a scheme where we help facilitate the process and co-share the cost of it. So it's more than just a whole productivity movement. It also means reinventing the SME's business model. And of course, I agree, all this takes time. And facing a very uncertain economic situation and a tightening of labor, this definitely will not be easy. And we understand that some will take more than 3 years. And because of that, the journey is not the next 3 years only, it's beyond that. If it's beyond that, then there will be certain schemes and all that, which I believe will stay to help the business sector. Well, for some of the industries, I know that there were a lot of concerns. They are fully reliant on foreign labor, and they always find it hard to actually hire our locals. This is difficult. It's definitely difficult. And that's why MOM is constantly monitoring it very closely for some of these industries. And they're working with trade associations, Singapore Business Federation, and Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and several others, major associations. And the feedback gotten from them are extremely important. And this feedback will actually somehow be the sediment that we will receive and will actually help shape the policies. Trade associations' role are important, and even ICPAS for the professional services in your area. We take those feedback very seriously. So for example, this time, a lot of the policies and measures that we were rolling out for SMEs and even for services, we've gotten those feedback from the trade association like Singapore Business Federation, who is at the apex of associations, ICPAS as well, and several others, that they gave us feedback, even a written document, to tell us what are the things that's needed. In fact, SBF submitted a budget recommendation of about 33 recommendations. We have accepted the majority of the 33, and it almost shaped some of the measures and policies that roll out. So we encourage members, when you are part of the association, don't hesitate to give your feedback, because it's important. It's important for us to listen and understand where you're coming from and the problems you face. When we have a better understanding, we can roll out the measures as it is. There's one of the schemes that I will share more in future, was that with the labor crunch, with tightening of the ICPAS, we also need to develop our own local talent to be able to fill up the void and to make SME more attractive. That's why the SME talent scheme will actually come out to be one of the more important schemes for SME sector. The SME talent schemes works with the polys and the ITEs to actually fit in the talents, as many as we can, graduating students or students who are still in those institutions, to be able to work for the SME in future and actually link them as a feeder to the sector. As many as they can fill up the middle management, supervisory role to take care of the company. And hopefully one day, more and more SMEs will get hold of the talent. In fact, we're also thinking through about rolling it out for mid-career shift individuals as well. People who have experience in the job market already, many years of experience, or certain professional skills, would like to join SMEs. We'll see how we can facilitate the process for them to join the SMEs as well. I've been doing my rounds with the polys and all, and as you know, I think it's the education system, even from during my time, was that most of them would like to join big companies. Like accountancy graduate would like to join big fours, right? It used to be big 8, then big 6, then big 4. Then later you merge, it become 1, then everybody join 1, then monopolize, then antitrust come in. Yeah. So, well, the antitrust part, I just joke. The thing about MNCs is because that is how Singapore has grown, but we have been helped by MNCs for many years, since the early days, right? Since the early days, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, till now. MNCs impart great knowledge and innovation to the economy, to our supplier base of SMEs. But we really need to strengthen our own business sector. It's extremely important. And because when you strengthen your own business sector, you have a little bit more self-reliant element in that. And it's important to help our companies to survive and survive well, and to be global champions too. We need our own